Hello, and welcome to Cribl's Connecting Different Pipes video. In this video, we're going to show you how to download Cribl, Splunk, and Elastic Filebeat, get Splunk installed with Cribl as an app, configure Filebeat to talk to Cribl, and reshape data to look native to Splunk. The goal of this video is to show you how to connect any input to any output and reshape data as needed. We chose Elastic in to Splunk out, but really this could have been any of our inputs to any of our outputs. The first thing I'm going to do is to go to cribl.io/download, enter my name and email address, and then download the Cribl for Splunk package. Secondly, I will go to Filebeat's download page by Googling Filebeat download, and I'm going to download the Mac version of Filebeat. Lastly, I'm going to go to Splunk's page, and I'm going to download the tar-gzip for Splunk on the Mac. Now I'm going to untar Splunk. I've created an opt Cribl demo folder for this. And I'm going to untar Cribl, but I'm going to use the -C option of tar to untar Cribl into a specific directory inside of Splunk etc apps. And then I validate that I've got the files and directories I'm expecting. Now I'm going to go ahead and start up Splunk. I hit Q to close the license agreement and yes to agree. And then I set my administrative username and password. The same password that I used for Splunk is also going to be used to log in to Cribl. We go ahead and start up Splunk. And now we're going to log into Splunk. I'm going to search for index equals splat over all time just to prove that there's no data currently in Splunk. And I'm also going to go log in to Cribl. We can see that there's 0 bytes coming in and 0 bytes going out. Next, I need to generate some data destined for ElasticSearch. I'm going to use Filebeat configured to monitor my local var log directory to generate that data. I'm going to go to gist.github.com/coccyx and I'm going to download the Filebeat or copy the Filebeat YAML. And we're going to go back to our demo folder and extract Filebeat. Inside of Filebeat, I'm going to move the existing Filebeat YAML to a backup file, and I'm going to create a new Filebeat YAML that's going to contain the configuration I copied from the GitHub gist. Next, I'm going to go to Cribl, and I'm going to configure the HTTP input so that ElasticSearch can talk to us. I'm going to configure Cribl to listen on host 000, so all interfaces, on port 10,080. Now, let's go start up Filebeat. Filebeat doesn't work, apparently, if you don't set the owner of the Filebeat YAML to be the same as the person running it. So I'm going to che-own Filebeat YAML to be owned by root. And start up Filebeat again. Now, as we head back to Cribl, we need to configure Cribl to output to Splunk. By default, Cribl is set to output nowhere. So you'll notice that the events coming in have several 100,000 events, but there are 0 events going out. So we're going to configure Splunk as a destination for Cribl. I'm going to hit add new, and I'm going to create an output ID named Splunk, and I'm going to output to localhost on port 9997. And I'm going to go into Cribl and set our default output to be set to Splunk. Now, we need to go configure Splunk to receive this data. So I'm going to add a new receiver in Splunk on port 9997. As we head back to Cribl, we'll notice some new events are starting to get output to Splunk. And we can head over to Splunk and take a look at those events and see that they're properly being output. But we notice a problem. The data coming in for Elastic is not really in the shape that's best for Splunk. So we can see that the host is set to host.name, which is a nested field, not what we want. The raw is in a field called message. And we have a lot of superfluous information we'd like to eliminate from this event. So I'm going to go back to Cribl. Inside of my main pipeline, I have an eval function that by default adds a field called Cribl set to the value of yes. We're going to use eval to extract structure from the raw message that's being sent in. So I'm going to create a new field called __ parsed and use JavaScript's JSON parse function to extract the structure of that data. Fields that have 2 underscores are not output by default to the destination system, so I can use them internally to Cribl. And you can see here I'm going to use the parsed field, host.name, to override the original value of host inside of the message. And I'm going to override the value of raw to be the value of the message field. As we head back to Splunk, we can see that the data is starting to look to be in a much better shape for Splunk. The raw is properly represented, and the host name is set properly. But now I have a few superfluous fields that I'd like to eliminate from my data. I have a message field, an offset field, and an opq field, which are extra. So I'm going to head back to my main pipeline, and I'm going to use eval to drop those particular fields. Lastly, one of the problems that I have with the data coming from Filebeat is that for whatever reason, Filebeat does not properly automatically extract timestamps. And so the data coming into Splunk shows only the time when the data is being ingested. So I'm going to add Cribl's auto timestamp function, which uses some automation and machine learning to optimally extract timestamps from any data coming through. I'm going to remove the Filebeat data folder so that it'll reprocess all of the events. And you can see that we're sending through now a few 100,000 events from my Mac. And as we head back to Splunk, we'll be able to notice that the data is coming in that over the proper time. As I look over the last 24 hours, I've got data that's distributed all throughout time. And as I look at these individual events, the timestamps are being extracted properly. I hope this helps you understand how we can take different inputs and send them to different outputs with the right shape. If this is interesting to you, go to cribl.io/download to grab the bits. And also, if you're interested in learning more about Cribl and how it works, you can check out docs.cribl.io for more information.